I wanted to pull up a definition of a word that I don't think you would readily associate me attributing to Emily Dickinson, but I think we're going to have a discussion here that is going to prove why this word is so useful in dealing with Emily Dickinson. The word itself is insidious. The definition from Oxford is proceeding in a gradual, subtle way, but with harmful effects. And when you get to synonyms, the synonyms chosen are so similar synonyms. I'm not sure exactly how this designation is working, but there is a pair of words tied to insidious, treacherous, and crafty. That is exactly where we find ourselves today. Hope is the thing with feathers. Maybe Emily Dickinson's best known poem. Probably, if you went to Target this afternoon, you could find some type of bed cover or ornament for the wall that says hope is the thing with feathers, something, because it's kind of corny, kind of cheesy, kind of live, laugh, love, etc. But it is only that way, in my opinion, if you stop right there. We will not be stopping right there. This video is part of 3 separate playlists here on the channel. Number 1 being obviously the Echoes of Emily playlist, but number 2 being a playlist of Emily Dickinson poetry discussions, and third, the general playlist for poetry discussions. If you like or appreciate the work that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing that I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. So consider hitting the subscribe button to stick around for more literature in the future. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words, and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Guys, this is a bit of a momentous occasion. I have no talking points for this because this is so easy for me to remember. You, if you have been here through this series, Echoes of Emily, have watched me make an interpretation for each of these poems, and then, just to be a spicy boy, go ahead and make a nihilistic interpretation of all of these poems, and then, just to be a spooky boy, go and make a hauntological interpretation of all of these poems. But today, all of these readings are essentially the same thing. And they circle on this. In that intro, what I talked about was how Emily Dickinson's poetry can be seen as almost insidious. The longer you look at it, the worse it gets. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. The sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land, and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Hope, hope is the thing with feathers. likening hope to a bird. Guys, I do a lot of walking. For over a year now, I've walked at least 100 miles a month. Many of those months, I've gotten up into the 200 miles. I do most of my walking at a park right near my apartment, and there's a lot of birds out there. Hope is the thing with feathers. Hope is a bird. Try as I might, in my most goblin of modes, never have I caught one of those birds. I'll throw rocks, I'll throw dirt, I'll chase it on my own 2 feet. Those birds always get away. I dare you, I defy you. Go chasing after a bird. See how far you get. See how close you get. See if you go home with dinner. Probably you will not. In fact, if you were to get your hands on the bird, it would most likely be after killing it. Do you want to kill hope in order to get your hands on it? Hope, being the thing with feathers, is not so inspirational a theme as it seems. And then, when we cruise a little further through that poem, and sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm. So we're still invoking that storm. That storm's still real. That could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. But that storm could abash the little bird. We're not really picking negative phrases here, Emily. We're pointing right at the thing. And this is a little bit of a hauntological thing too. Whenever you are language, well, let me get back to that. I've heard it in the chillest land, but I was in the chillest land, and on the strangest sea, but I was on that strange sea. Yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. We never even had an exchange, me and that little birdie. Never even close enough for me to give it crumbs. That may sound like a selfless phrase from Hope at first. Hope never asked anything of me. But did you get close enough? So, in hauntological terms, in terms of Jacques Derrida, anytime we mention something, we also infer its negative. The famous example of this: if I tell you not to think of a pink elephant, what are you thinking of? A pink elephant. And the sweetest, I can't read, and sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird. That phrase is saying, the storm that could kill this little bird that is hope, that storm is awfully sore. What a terrible type of storm. But while Emily Dickinson is giving you this scene, you are envisioning the storm abashing the little bird. So the real interpretation that I have here, hope is always the thing which you are without. This does not necessarily preclude success. You can constantly be hopeful towards something greater than yourself, all the while slowly building the self to greatness. I want to be a writer. It is my hope to be published. Sort of a naked phrase, to be published. You get something published. It is my hope to be a great writer. I can't just publish a thing in a journal. I have to do more than that. In that way, this could be seen as aspirational, as inspirational, as constantly pushing the individual towards more. But you'd have a hard time convincing me that hope being the thing with feathers is meant to mean you will ever put your greedy little fingers on it. As far as a nihilistic interpretation is concerned, surely there is no strong nihilistic interpretation to be had here, but the weak nihilistic interpretation, hope is the thing with feathers. You don't got it, buddy. It ain't yours. Hope is the thing with feathers, and it's always clucking someplace else. Hope is the thing with feathers that sings beautiful little songs up in the trees while you are stuck on the ground. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul. What does that even mean? In the soul. Point to your soul. Point to hope. It's all imaginary. It's all BS. The weak nihilistic position on this poem would be, it is kerfuffle. It's hogwash, horse hockey. There's nothing to be had here. Pretty words. Looks nice on a Hallmark card. But I want you to spit in one hand and hope in the other, and then tell me which fills up first. Spit in a bucket, spit in your soul, and tell me which fills up first. That would be the nihilistic interpretation of this poem. Very much like the actual interpretation that I gave of this poem. So how could hauntology really drive that point home? Well, when you think of the future being canceled, when you think of the overwhelming sense of loss that is the basis for hauntology, for hauntological thought, for hauntological criticism, one of the easier aspects to understand of what is a very ephemeral type of philosophy, I don't know if it's really a philosophy as much as just a lens, right? It's sort of just a critical lens you put hauntology on and interpret things. One of the more basic aspects of that is easy to get purchase on, to grab onto and really look at other things and envision what hauntology means, is that hauntology is largely comprised of lost possibilities. When they say the future is canceled, the future in 1950, the 2024 they would have envisioned in 1950 had a whole lot more robots and flying cars and stuffs. We don't have any of that. Those things were possibilities, and they're gone. It's not that they never will be. We certainly don't have them now. Instead, we have nice, neat little rectangles that we put in our pocket, and they show us the internet. Far out, man. That's not a robot cleaning lady. That's not a robot chauffeur. That's not a flying car in every driveway. So much of hauntology can be sort of understood as lost possibilities. What is hope if it's not a possibility? What does hope even mean if it is not the hope for a possibility? Hope for an impossibility is just a dream. Hope for an impossibility is just the result of a space cadet going through his or her life. Hope is for possibilities. Hauntology is comprised predominantly of lost possibilities. The types of possibilities that have feathers and fly away. The types of possibilities that perch in the soul instead of at the foot of your bed. The types of possibilities that will haunt you through singing tunes without words. This is a hauntological poem. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me.